This video is about weeks 3 and 4 of my recovery after my hardware removal of 4 screws and 2 plates after a midfoot fusion. For the first 2 weeks of recovery, please click on the video link in my description. I got my stitches taken out on May 13th, which was almost 2 full weeks after my hardware removal. It felt so good to have them taken out. Stitches always start to feel so uncomfortable and itchy very quickly after surgeries and procedures, and so I always end up looking forward to getting them out. I was a little nervous about having them out, but thankfully the person who took them out was efficient and didn't pull too much while cutting the stitches out. I had 5 stitches total that they took out, and I had nearly instant pain relief in my foot and ankle once they were all out. I got steri strips over the incision area, which felt a lot better than having the stitches. The x-rays looked good, and the holes where the 4 screws used to be were already filling in nicely. I made an appointment for the middle of June for more x-rays, which should also be my 6-week checkup. I did get some bruising near my toes from getting the stitches removed the day after, but that was normal. It usually takes about 10 days to 2 weeks for steri strips to completely come off, and so a good bit of this recovery period was waiting for the steri strips to peel off and working on the incision area to heal well. I had a hard time getting the incision to heal well after the midfoot fusion, and I had a lot of scar tissue buildup in addition to the scar itself being a bit raised, so I was doing my best after this surgery to help the incision heal more easily. The steri strips finally started peeling about 6 or 7 days after I got the stitches out, and it was helpful to occasionally trim them so that they didn't get too annoying. The steri strips were mostly peeled off about 12 days after they had been put on, so I peeled the rest of them off using Brava adhesive spray to help them come away from the skin a bit more easily. Since the incision had not fully closed, I cleaned it daily with Vash to make sure that it didn't get infected. It did hurt quite a bit the first couple of times that I cleaned it, but the area got less sensitive after a few days. I kept the surgical incision covered until it had fully closed with the transfer silicone adhesive wound dressing, which helped pull out any persistent slough and reduce the chances of the scar becoming a keloid. During the last few days of May, the incision was finally nearly closed. My foot was still getting sore and swollen pretty easily, especially towards the middle and the end of the day. I did still need to keep my foot elevated for most of the day, and regularly icing my foot was also super helpful. I was typically icing my foot about 4 to 6 times a day, and keeping the swelling under control was much easier compared to after the midfoot fusion, and the soreness and swelling was usually from moving around or having my foot down for a while. It gradually became easier to walk, and I was honestly surprised at how quick the progress was even though I was still wearing the walking boot. It stopped being painful to walk pretty quickly after the stitches were removed, and going up and down the stairs became much easier during the 4th week after my surgery. I was able to walk at least 2 miles a day more often than I had expected to be able to. Although I did need to make sure to space out my activities so that I didn't aggravate my foot too much, I found that small walks did help my foot and ankle feel less stiff. I was excited to get back into a gym routine after the stitches came out, although I did need to reduce some of the activity that I typically did at the gym since my foot was still healing from the surgery. I was able to do a few of the machines that didn't put too much direct pressure on my foot pretty easily. I did continue to use the walking boot throughout the month of May at my primary care physician's recommendation since I have a history of twisting and spraining my ankles, and he wanted to avoid any chance of me fracturing my foot while the holes from the screws were still healing. Since the surgical incision was taking a long time to fully close, wearing a regular shoe outside of the house would not have been possible anyhow since I wouldn't have been able to slide my foot into sneakers. Towards the very end of May, I did begin to walk around the house without the boot on for a few minutes at a time because my foot and ankle began to feel so painfully stiff. I also did some of the physical therapy exercises for range of motion that I had done after my midfoot fusion to help with the stiffness. At the end of May, my family and I celebrated my mom's birthday. What we had planned for her was a complete surprise, so it was a great day, and my foot did better with all of the walking around than I expected it would. I walked a total of 2.3 miles that day, and although my foot did get sore throughout the day, it was not as bad as I would have thought it would be for just being a month after the hardware removal. Please let me know how you all are doing in the comments. I love hearing from everyone who watches my videos. I hope you are all doing great.